Welcome back to the channel, and this is the podcast video that me and Evo created last Sunday. Now this I'm going to upload as a general video. It's going to be about 2 hours long, so I suggest you put us on in the background while you're doing other things, perhaps while you're building on Evolution 3, for some background noise and conversation about all things about Jurassic World Evolution 3. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Me and Evo certainly did, and if you liked this, do please like the video and consider subscribing if you're new to the channel, and yeah, hopefully there'll be more videos like this. But I will now hand off to Evo.
All right, so for this first podcast, I am joined by Fletcher, one of my friends. Can I say that?
I think you can say that.
Okay. It would have been really awkward if you had just been like, no.
No.
No, Fletcher, one of my friends, one of my moderators, and a fellow YouTuber. So for anyone who might not know you, either as one of the blue names in my live stream chats or from your own channel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so some of you might know me already, but for those that don't, I'm Fletcher, one of Evo's very first moderators, so I've been here for quite a while, and fellow YouTuber, as she said. I have a channel called TRICLAW Gaming that I share with my two partners, and we play all sorts of games, but I mostly focus on the dinosaur stuff, so that's Evolution, but also the Isle, Prehistoric Kingdom, and I dabble in a few other games as well, like War Thunder. So if you like the sound of any of that, I would really appreciate if you gave the channel a look. And I do also want to take a quick moment just to thank Evo for agreeing to this, because we're a small channel, so, you know, compared to Evo, I'm a very small fish against a very big shark. So I just want to give Evo a chance to, or give Evo a thank you for suggesting we do this, because it was her idea. And I'm looking forward to our conversation.
I am too. Like I said, I'd consider us friends. And I just love talking about this stuff. So now we were supposed to record this around the launch of the game, but I had to cancel on you twice. Sorry about that.
It's all right. No hard feelings.
You did just call me a shark, though.
Well, you know. A big fish compared to a shark. I think that's a reasonable simile.
I'll just take it as a compliment and I'll swim with it. We're mostly going to be talking about the new DLC and the free update, because that's the most relevant right now. I also want to talk about the future of the game and what we have in mind for that. But at first, I do want to go back to the launch of the game.
Couple of months ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's actually insane to think about. We gotta rewind it a bit and really put our memory to the test here. But I think we have a very different reaction to, honestly, Jurassic World Evolution as a series as a whole.
Yeah, very much so.
But also like to the announcement of Jurassic World Evolution 3 and the marketing of that, which I think characterizes us as a whole. I think it's fair to say that we have a very different perspective. If I take like any nuance out of it, just for the sake of brevity, I'd say I'm very optimistic and positive about the game. Whereas you are, again, oversimplifying, more cynical and negative. So
I can be.
Again, oversimplifying, right? Oversimplifying. So I was immediately like on board with the new game and giddy about it, but you actually weren't sure for a very long time whether you'd even get the game or not.
No. I mean, I think it's interesting. I think we come from very different positions in gaming as well, because for me, I was playing these styles of games at the age of like 7. So SimCity 3000 was like the first proper management game I ever played, and I've played them all the way through since today. And I think that's also a very big part of perhaps a little bit of my cynicism towards the Evolution franchise, because it's kind of games I've grown up with and developed with, and I think that was a big part of it. But no, I wasn't convinced until the Sunday before the game came out.
And what is it that convinced you? Like, what was the selling point that sold you?
It wasn't really a selling point that sold me. It was a stream I did with people, and I still have this. We built this chart. It was actually a suggestion from someone I know, and they were like, if you're not sure whether to do something, get a piece of paper, split it down the middle, put the pros on one side, the cons on the other, write down, fill it out, and then you have a visual representation of which side is best to go with. So I decided to do that in stream because I just hadn't been convinced by everything that I had seen up to that point. And a bit of that comes from my cynicism because of Evolution 1 being such a disappointment for me. And then Evolution 2, in my opinion, after doing that massive 4-hour-long review I did of it, the opinion was, well, it was fine, but it didn't do enough. So when it came to Evolution 3, I was like, well, this game needs to really, really hit it out of the park. And everything I had seen just hadn't done that for me. We did this big chart with folks on stream with the good points, the bad points, things that we couldn't determine at that point. And at the end of that stream, I was a bit surprised at how many positives we did actually have. So I thought, well, I will buy the game then.
Yes. Do you sometimes feel that maybe like you're so like maybe you can get hung up on the negatives because, like you said, you were surprised at how many positives there were?
I think it's very easy to get hung up on that. I personally blame my university course a bit for this. My first degree was all about was a big combination of disciplines, but a big part of it was looking at the underlying reasons why certain things are done, sort of what biases are they trying to push, what particular opinions are they trying to push. And after 3 years of doing that, I did notice that I have become naturally very cynical as a result. Like, I cannot just take anything at face value. It's always, why is this being done? Who is this being done for? Like, what is the purpose of this? And it is a problem, because I don't personally like how cynical I am either. I absolutely despise it. But I would say that some of my cynicism towards Evolution has unfortunately been earned. I don't think Frontier gets away completely clean. I can admit that maybe I'm too cynical sometimes, but I also think that we have to admit that Frontier, when it comes to Evolution, especially Evolution 1, certain aspects of Evolution 2, they kind of deserved a little bit of cynicism, in my opinion.
Like, from a logical standpoint, I obviously agree with that. As I said earlier, like, it's an oversimplification to say that you're always negative and I'm always positive, because I speak out about negative stuff as well. But for me, when I look back at Jurassic World Evolution 1, in spite of all of the many flaws and shortcomings, I love that game. I got so much playtime out of it even before I started my channel. And then for me, Jurassic World Evolution 2 was a step up. Jurassic World Evolution 3 was a step up. So yeah, I've always been happy with what we got, and even happier with what came next. But I want to take it back to, okay, so you had your list of pros and cons.
Yes.
A lot of the cons were also, again, like you said, your cynicism fed by your disappointment with Jurassic World Evolution 1
Some
in
of them
particular,
were,
but
yeah.
also 2. But what about 3? Like, what were the big things in the pro column for you that actually got you like, okay, this tips the scale, I'm gonna get the game. Like, just to get some things on the table about Jurassic World Evolution 3.
I will bring the chart up on here and have a look. The other thing I think is worth just mentioning, like, you mentioned that you were like really positive, you enjoyed everything. I think we are two very different people in regards to what we look at, how we look at games. You seem to be very focused on sort of the content, where I'm a bit more of a sort of mechanics player. Like, I like intricate mechanical aspects, like how the game works, as opposed to what is the content of the game. Whereas you seem to be quite content focused quite a bit of time. Like, just to use an example, you absolutely adore those new baby ducks.
Yeah.
Whereas to me, absolutely no response. Like, nah.
Oh, that
Like,
hits me in the
there's
feels.
there's no response to the baby ducks. Like when they were being killed off in stream, I was like, eh.
That's fair. I think that's fair. And it does go back to what you said earlier about how, the types of games you played growing up, very focused on the mechanics. And when I think back about the games that I played, Zoo Tycoon, I played The Sims a lot. And it was all about, sandbox, turning off any requirements and just building zoos, building houses. So yeah, I am very focused on just that aspect of it. But I also think like on a personality level, like you mentioned, like your personality has been sort of shaped by university and all that stuff to be more cynical. And I think my personality is really, and this can be both good and bad, but I accept a lot of negatives if there's something positive there. Like I can get so excited about the little positive things that I'll accept a lot of negative stuff around it. And I can just look past that.
Yeah,
And I
which
think
has its own pros and cons
it
in
does,
that
yeah.
regards. Although I am glad to know that we both played Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun. I was so happy when
Yeah.
you said, "Oh, you used to play Command and Conquer," and I was like, "No."
Yeah. I surprise people with that, don't I?
Command and Conquer Red Alert was one of my first ever PC games that I brought myself. So
I do got to be honest though, like I played Tiberian Sun, Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun, and I always played the same map, Grassy Knoll, and I always like you get like assigned a random location on the map, one of 4,
yeah,
and I always just aborted
until you got the one you wanted. Yeah,
until I got the one I wanted, and literally it was just the same strategy over and over. Like I had perfected that. And that, I guess that's the autism thing. I got to bring that up again, but maybe that's also why I enjoy Jurassic World as a series so much. But okay, I think you've pulled up the chart at this point.
I have. Yeah, so some big things that were in my positives. So
Yeah.
the gap between Evolution 2 and 3 is bigger than the gap between Evolution 1 and 2. That even I could see that. So that was a big positive. This was at the time we did the stream. So I had babies in here. I had pterosaurs being able to walk here. I had a long-term campaign was in the positives. Not all of these are still in the positives.
Okay, we'll get to that though. That's another point.
The balloon tour and canoe tour, a focus on new attractions, that was quite important to me. Because fundamentally, one of my biggest issues with Evolution 2 is the parks all kind of felt too static, too stationary. So having more in there to move and give it some life was important. And then there were loads of other like sort of quality of life stuff, like the expanded the path system and being able to recolor the pathing. The skim preview in the hatchery was a big one, even though I now miss the species viewer from the main menu, which I actually think they should bring back. Deep water being a thing now, the environmental tools. No Claire and no Owen Grady was also in my positives. I just came to hate them. And yeah, the some redesigns as well. Deinonychus is here as a redesign that was really good, as a really nice surprise. So yeah, there was a lot of positives, not as many negatives, but still quite a few. And then there were some in the middle that we just couldn't determine because we hadn't played the game.
Yeah. And what about, okay, so I think one of the things that was a huge, I nearly said step up, but maybe that's sort of leading the conversation. Maybe I should say a huge change from Jurassic World Evolution 2 to Jurassic World Evolution 3 was the modular building. And we were both on the same, we were both on the same like mindset that we were really apprehensive about that for us personally and for like the game as a whole, like how that would affect the player base, how they would latch onto that. Now, I do check in on your live streams quite regularly to bully you.
Have I said something that you noticed?
No, just in general. But yeah, I like to pop into your live streams and say awkward things there. But you've been building a lot
I have.
modularly. So what is your take on the modular building now?
So here's a take that might get some interesting comments. I actually think modular building is a really, really bad game mechanic.
Okay, that is a hot take.
Regardless of whatever game it's put in, I think modular building is a really bad game mechanic for various reasons we can go into in a minute if you want. When it comes to Evolution 3, I can't deny, yes, it's added creativity, but I think it's also taken a lot away from the game. And in my opinion, I think the stuff it's taken away is more important than the stuff that it's added.
Okay.
So I think for both of us, both me and you were a bit apprehensive about modular building because it's essentially a massive, complex mechanic to put into the game.
Yes.
It's a mechanic that takes so much time to not even just to use. It takes time to learn, and then it takes more time to use it, and then you can't, unlike Evolution 2 where you could build something progressively. You'd build an enclosure and some amenity area, and then you'd have a gap, and you'll be like, oh well, okay, I'm going to path this off as a plaza, and then this plaza needs some decoration, so we need something around the outside. It would be good to have something on the inside. We need a kind of focal point. You can kind of build it progressively. With Evolution 3 and modular building, you can't do it that way. You have to have a plan first. Then you have to build the thing you've planned to build in order to fit it where you want it or what you want to do with that building. And that in itself takes time, because if you don't have the idea, then it takes even longer to build the thing from modular building.
Yeah.
I still don't. Sorry. I was just going to say, I don't think it was necessary. Like thinking about Evolution 2 and going to Evolution 3, I fundamentally don't think modular building was necessary.
I agree with that. I also talked about that in a video I did a year before the game came out. There is a huge space between the creativity that we had in Jurassic World Evolution 2 and the creativity that you have with Jurassic World Evolution 3 with modular building. They could have landed somewhere in between there. They really, like, modular building is quite the extreme. That being said, I will say, like, with regards to modular building, I was really apprehensive about it going in. And I won't say I've changed my mind for me personally, but I have for a lot of the community. I was really worried that it would scare people away, when I think that for a lot of people, as of now at least, it's been the opposite. People are really, really happy with it. I think it's one of the biggest things that makes people happy with how the game has turned out.
I think it makes certain people happy.
Yeah, for sure. For as far as what I'm observing right now, the majority are, at least in like my, let's call it, community, I see mostly positive things about the modular building, because I don't know, maybe I've attracted more of that like content focused audience, right?
I mean, I think a lot of them are happy there's a workshop now. That seems to be the predominant sort of. I having watched a lot of your streams since the release, I think the fact that there is such an easy way to share stuff has been a big part of the modular building being quote unquote successful.
Yeah. And that I would agree with that. I think that honestly, and I talked about that in that video I did a year before the game launched. I already said in that video, I said in that video, like, what I think you guys really want is not modular building. You want other people. Yeah, you want other people to build awesome. You want a lot of content, and with modular building, you know that you're going to get that from other people.
Yeah, it's content for free.
Yeah, but but at the same time, I don't want to like dunk on the modular building. I feel like I was both right and wrong in my appraisal of it, I guess I would say. Like I was wrong in that I thought it would put people off. It clearly hasn't. I was also wrong in that it would put me off. I really thought it would just be such a slog that I was genuinely afraid I wouldn't like it at all. And that's not the case. But I was right in the sense that from a content creation perspective, I am struggling with it.
Same.
And that's because like every new build has to be better than the last. Every new build has to be more epic than the previous. And the viewers' expectations grow at a faster rate than my skill level.
Yeah.
And
I
that is
actually.
that is what I struggle with because it's like okay, I enjoy playing the game, but there's like this pressure that I put on
Mm,
myself now because well, I'm not just playing the game and putting that on YouTube. I want to actually have some value to add, and I don't think I have value to add. And that is really like my main struggle with Jurassic World Evolution 3.
I
And I
actually
was one
had that thinking. Sorry,
no,
I
no,
had
no,
that
go ahead.
thinking. Sort of about a week and a half after the game launched, and there was already fantastic stuff, like next level architectural genius level stuff on the
Yeah.
workshop, and it really hit home that I had gone from being, with Evolution 1 and 2, a really good builder to, in Evolution 3, just being average, and that was really horrible.
Yeah, I had the same thing because that's from like not from like an ego perspective. Like I'm fine with that if I build stuff for my own. But like for the channel, right? You want to add some value
Mm.
to the content and I just felt like wow, I have nothing to add.
Over Christmas, I'm going to try to show off some of my modular builds in some videos, just to, I suppose, try to get some. This is going to sound really bad and very egotistical, just to get some response from the community, because not for my own sort of self-worth, but more because I want to see how they respond to what I build, and if they give me any areas where they think I could do better or improve, or whether actually my building style, because I think everybody builds in a particular way and they have their own particular styles, even if you're trying to
Mm.
make something in a style that's already there. I think you still have your own unique take on it. So it's important for me to learn whether people actually like my modular building or stuff. Because if not, then I'm not going to mess around building stuff and putting it on the workshop, essentially. So yeah, that's going to be a project for over Christmas.
But how would you play the game if you don't do the modular building?
Well, I mean, I would just play with prefabs. I would just download stuff off of the workshop that I see that I like and just play like it was Evolution 2, which is what I'm going to do in tomorrow's stream on my channel. Is I'm just going to start a new park build in Sandbox, but build with prefab only, and download
Mm.
stuff off the workshop that I think is good. Because I think it's, and this comes back to sort of why I don't necessarily think modular building is a good game mechanic, is that, oh, how do I word this?
Don't cancel yourself.
These Planet Zoo creators, which are mostly, I mean, there are some very talented community creators, I'm sure, in the Evolution side, but I think a lot of the Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster players are the ones that have been putting out stuff on the workshop as well of a really, really high level. And
Well, they had a head start with like
well, yeah, for sure.
their skill set.
And I suppose there's an open question here: is um, can sometimes modular building feel like a chore rather than a game? I've certainly felt that with some of my modular building, like the big my big din castle that I constructed, which was days of building over a couple of weeks. At the end of it, it felt like I was obligated to finish it because I had started it, and although I really like what I created, I certainly felt that towards the end it was becoming more of a chore than something I was doing because I was enjoying myself. These big Planet Zoo creators that are is just building stuff on modular building playing the game, which is sort of what my open question is. Like, if you just build stuff, is that playing the game, or is actually playing the game everything else, and modular building not necessary for that?
Well, I think this is something that we've disagreed on in the past. I think you phrased it as like the right way to play the game or how you're supposed to play the game. And I'm of the mindset
Yes.
that there is no right way to play the game. You know, if you bought it and you somehow get your value out of it, I think you're playing it the right way, however you're doing that. You know, if that means building after building, if that means making your dinosaurs fight each other, if that means watching the little baby ducks die, however you get your value out of the game, I think is valid.
Hmm. And I mean, I don't think I would classify it as having a right or a wrong way to play the game. I think I would classify it as there is an intended way to play the game. Like, the developers have built the game assuming players are going to play it in an intended fashion. And yes, you can use the game in an unintentional way, like just building death arenas and stuff. But then my issue with that comes to, well, then who are the developers listening to when they develop the game further? Because if they listen to just the parts of the community that don't play the game as intended, then we end up with a game with problems, which has always been my issue with Evolution, is that Frontier, probably Universal more, but Frontier as well, I think, they take I think they've taken a very wide scattershot approach to the games, and as a result, there's lots of little bits that are very easy to fix, but have ended up kind of ingrained in the franchise, like the complete lack of management mechanics in this management game.
Giving that as an example of something easy to fix is maybe not entirely resonating with
Well,
me.
there are easy elements that you can fix it. I mean, a very simple example is, can we please be able to set the prices of the entry tickets? Like, can we have some economic control over how we make money in the parks?
Hmm.
That's a very easy management element, which they've consistently never had.
I think I do agree that the series, especially Jurassic World Evolution 1 and Jurassic World Evolution 2, have been what did you call it? Scattershot?
Scattershot approach, yeah.
Yeah. I think with Jurassic World Evolution 3, we are seeing more of a direction from Frontier, and
For
that
sure.
is the creative direction. I really think that. I talked about this in my review. I feel like, you know, the game hasn't really changed in terms of the game mechanics, the gameplay
Mm,
loop.
mm,
Um, you know, we do have the babies and they come with like their interactions with the adults, but essentially they have, you know, the same sort of animation set, you know, the same type of behaviors. It's really the big leap is with the creative aspect. So I do think that Frontier has chosen a direction there.
mm.
Obviously, people can disagree on whether it was the right direction. I think it was,
I
but
mean,
you
I
know,
think it's very interesting that Evolution 1 and 2 were labeled as management simulators, and Evolution 3 is labeled as a creative management game on Steam.
mhm.
There's a change in language being used to describe them, which I think it's very obvious that they're definitely pushing the creativity. I just think that they put all their eggs in the modular building basket, and I don't necessarily think that should have that was one way of doing it, but I think there were other ways of doing it.
I agree. I'm not dissatisfied with the direction they went with. I thought I was afraid I would be, but I'm not. It's
No,
really
I'm
just for me the I guess the pressure that I put on myself when it comes to the content that I struggle with.
content creating for Evolution 3 is very hard because Like, how do you content create for a game where you have to spend 12 hours building something? Like, do you record you building it so people can see how you build it, or will that not be interesting? So you just record like, here's my building, post building it, and then you get people being like, how did you make this?
Yeah. What I would actually love if we like if at the end of this conversation we both agree that we had a good time with this podcast, I'd love to actually obviously I'll be doing more of these, but I'd love to have you back on as a guest and maybe do like an episode where we talk more about the content and the
For
YouTube
sure.
side of things. Um, because that's obviously, I always say this, I have YouTuber brain rot. This is always at the forefront of my mind. Uh, I don't necessarily think that's going to be interesting for everyone. So
No, but it's definitely part of the process, especially when it comes to evolution, because that is, your channel and evolution are quite inherently linked together, aren't they? So
yeah, but so I'm aware that I'm the one who brought it up, but I'm also now realizing that I should steer the conversation away from the content aspect of it, and we'll save that for maybe another time for people who are interested in that to click on.
for sure.
So I'll take it back to like okay, so we've already sort of shifted into like the honeymoon period
The
is
honey
over. We've
period,
been
yeah.
talking about um, how we've been experiencing the modular building for the past couple of months.
Mm.
But taking it back to like your what convinced you to get the game, like the points you mentioned, have they held up? Do you Oh, that's a scary laugh. Do you okay, let me first start it out with like the most like clickbaity question, right? Do you regret buying the game?
No, I don't regret buying it for a really important reason, and that is fundamentally, even if something is terrible, you can still get something out of it.
Oh, that's so relatable. That's what my parents think of me.
Again, if we're just thinking strictly about content, something that is good, you get one video from it. This is what I think is good. But something that's bad, you can get at least 2, if not more, videos from it. Because it's like, this is what I think is bad and why. This is what I would do differently. That can be 2 separate videos. So it's strictly from a
Oh.
content perspective.
Oh no, the YouTuber brain rot has hit you hard.
Something that is bad is better for content. But I also think it's a lot easier to talk about stuff that you think can be improved. There's my favorite video game reviewer, Yahtzee Croshaw. One of the things he hates is video games that are just okay, because you can't. What do you say about a video game that's just okay? Something that's fine, boilerplate, does nothing bad, does nothing great, is the little rhyme that I ended up with in my Jurassic World Evolution 2 review. Inherently, something that's bad, even if you've spent money on it and you play it and you think, oh, this is not good. I've never regretted buying something not good, because I think it gives me something to talk about. I can talk to other people about it. I can make content on it. I can write about it. I just, it sticks with you. Like, just earlier on, my housemate and his partner had just finished watching Jurassic World Rebirth, and we had an hour-long conversation about just ripping the film to shreds for all the things that it's done wrong. That wouldn't happen if you regret watching the thing and you feel bad about watching it. You just want to forget it, as it were. So, no, I don't regret buying Jurassic World Evolution 3. I think I brought it for the right reasons this time. I regretted buying Evolution 2, but not Evolution 3.
What's funny is that I just said let's take it away from the content aspect of it, and then I ask you, but we're basically back to the content creation. Is that so that's your basically your enjoyment out of Jurassic World Evolution 3 is the fact that you can make negative content on it?
I probably didn't explain it very well. I just think I think my point was that even if you think something is bad, don't necessarily regret. Try to find some positive in the negative.
So you do. So you did do think it's bad?
No, but there are some elements of it that ended up going from the positive side of the chart to the negative side of the chart.
Okay, so what are some examples there?
So everything to do with the babies, the breeding, the sexual dimorphism went from positive straight into negative.
Okay, can you elaborate?
I think the idea of allowing dinosaurs to breed in evolution is theoretically, from a mechanical perspective, a really good idea. Let's give some diversity to the herds. Let's have that life cycle process be in there that you have with, if you have any city builder like City Skylines, you have your healthcare, your death care, and your schools to, have the life cycle. So it's good to have the life cycle of the animals in any management game. But like a lot of what Frontier does, it is in the implementation that, the devil is in the detail, and it's the implementation that's just been really, I wouldn't say bad, but not as good as I think it should be.
How would you improve it then?
Well, for a start, some more imaginative sexual dimorphism wouldn't go amiss. I think too many animals, there's not enough difference between the males and the females to make it interesting. And if you think that with the way that this game has done males and females being two distinctly different models, for want of a different term, that's 1/3 of the animal models in the game. And if a lot of them just look identical to the males, then the question becomes, well, what was the point for me?
And the babies, because that's something like you said earlier. Like you don't care about the baby ducks. The babies just don't impress you in general.
Look, babies are very cute and very cuddly, and they get lots of squeeze and enjoyment. And it's certainly your reaction to seeing the baby ducks was certainly very endearing. However, that's
the biggest however.
That's kind of the point of them. It's a bit like why Prehistoric Planet threatened the babies all the time, and it's why Walking with Dinosaurs, the story was mostly about babies, because you can emotionally manipulate the audience at this point. This is my university coming out here. Yes, the very cute babies looked wonderful on all those Evolution 3 marketing videos. Look at how cute, big, anime-eyed babies. But when it comes to how the game actually, the gameplay of this game, the babies added in a huge amount of annoyance, is the only way I could describe it. It got to the point whereas in campaign, I refused to have breeding in any parks unless it was necessary. And once the breeding objective was done, all nests got deleted instantly, because it was that frustrating a mechanic to me.
Okay.
Certain species, they breed too much too fast. If you think about what allowing animal reproduction in any zoo or park building game, the purpose is to counter death spirals, which people who play management games know very well. It's like when you build a park, because of the natural way we build parks, you'll get to a point where suddenly, after about a couple of hours of playtime, everything dies. And Evolution 1 was certainly like that. Like there were entire
when the first dinosaur started dying, you
knew.
Got that like it's coming.
It the death wave is coming, and then you're stuck in this like constantly re-adding animals. So the idea of having babies is you don't have that problem, because the adults naturally breed, and then when they die, you've already got the replacements. In Evolution 3, it doesn't quite work like that. It's animals breed even more, breed to the point where the enclosure is absolutely bursting with animals, and then they stay alive for another hour and a half, and then you get the deaths. Like, the animals don't die off quick enough to counter the rate they reproduce. It would be a relatively easy fix. They just need to lower the position when the animals stop breeding. It just needs to be lowered for quite a lot of animals. But there are some. Edmontosaurus breeds like a rabbit.
Can I give like a counter perspective here? Because I feel
Sure.
like how do I say this? I think maybe it's not necessarily the correct assumption that babies were introduced to counteract the death spirals. I think babies were introduced, and this can be a frustrating or disappointing thing, like, ooh, I didn't want that. But I think babies were introduced, to be honest, largely for the ooh, ah, they're so cute factor.
Yeah, cute factor.
But I think they were purposefully introduced to add the management annoyance, frankly, of having to deal with all of these babies and having to constantly balance the enclosure. And, obviously there is something to be said there about, well, that's not fun management. But I personally think that was the angle. We're gonna you're going to have your Edmontosaurus breed and you're going to be busy doing missions for us. And then, oops, you weren't paying attention. And now your Edmontosaurus are pissed off because they have too many babies. The babies aren't happy, all that stuff.
I certainly think you're onto something there, because again, you've got the new engineering mechanic, or the engineer's mechanic, which again felt to me that this is another attempt by Frontier to add what they think is management. But I wouldn't say the Frontier don't know what good management in a park building game looks like, because with Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster, they're spot on, more or less. I think it's probably Universal's interference on the back end that's doing this, which is something we just can't determine. But I think somewhere in there, they think that these elements are management when they're not really. Like the mechanic outpost system, that's not management. That's sort of mobile video game button tap in. That's not really what management is, because if it was management, it would actually be a lot more complex than what it is. It's very simplified elements that they think is management, but not actually necessarily management for me.
Okay. I want to, because I realize we've been recording for quite a while. I actually want to take it now to the new DLC and the new free update.
Wetland.
But we do have a segue there. So you talked about, you said, I'm not necessarily sure if Frontier understands what we want. Do you think that this DLC / this free update, do you think they've tapped into what we want, or do you think they've missed the mark there?
Difficult to know. Like, the Wetland DLC, if they're using this DLC as a prototype for how they're going to do future DLC, I think it's a good way of doing Dinosaur Pack DLC. For years, I've always maintained that they need to diversify how they do DLC, because fundamentally, dinosaurs, you can add all 800 known species of dinosaur into your video game if you must, but actually, that's not the biggest part of adding to the game. It's everything else. Dinosaurs are nice to have, but it's actually everything else that's kind of better. Fewer animals, better quality animals with some side stuff, like whether it's modular building components or maps or stuff like that. I think that's a really good way of doing Dinosaur Pack DLC. But I don't think the Wetland Pack overall succeeded for people.
Yeah, I agree with this. This is actually something we talked about in our moderator chat earlier. That like the amount of content and the type of content is good, but this specific DLC has some really good stuff and some, I would say, disappointing stuff.
And I don't think that it particularly went down. I think there's sort of 3 different groups of people when it comes to the DLC response. You've got the ones that are unhappy because a dinosaur has been cut from it, because all they see is the dinosaurs. You've got the group that are unhappy because the cost has gone up, because they don't attribute value to the modular building stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have the group that's more or less happy but thinks one of the animals was a worthless addition.
I definitely wouldn't say it's worthless. I know I've been dunking on Hipsy, and in turn, I've been dunked on. Um, I should like give a little bit of more context for what I just said. Like, I don't think the DLC is bad or anything. I think it's a
No.
good DLC. I think it's just what I should have said is I don't think it quite nailed it. You know?
Yeah.
There's
So I had written down here like 3 ways I would have improved that pack, like a really simple way, a sort of middle ground way, and a much harder way. And for me, the simple way to improve that pack was to just allow all of the animals in it to use deep water.
Yeah, that's literally my thing. If they'd just done that, I would have no remarks.
Like that would have taken, I think I said in my review of that DLC, if they had just made every dinosaur swim, it would have gone from a 6 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10. That's the value I would have placed on that. In the middle ground, I would have replaced Hipsy with a different dinosaur that again could use deep water. Shatungosaurus I had written down because again I think that would, a swamp animal I think would suit Shatungo. And then on the upper level,
What? Shitango?
Shatungosaurus, yeah.
Shitangosaurus?
Did
you
I
mean
not?
Shantungosaurus?
Shantungosaurus, sorry. That's because I put a typo in my notes and just read it as it was. And then obviously the more difficult option, which everyone wanted, was a swamp puppy in the form of probably Deinosuchus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was unreasonable for people to expect a crocodile when you make a pack that is so very, very obviously aimed towards American swamps.
Yeah. I think the theme of it, like when they announced the pack to us as content creators, like within 10 minutes of knowing the name of the pack, I knew all 3 species of the pack. So I didn't spend 3 days. I didn't spend 3 days like getting attached to something, but I totally get that for like the viewers. If you saw the wetlands theme pop up and you saw that like Florida/Bayou style, like I totally get the expectations there. And that's just I don't think it's bad that the DLC didn't go in that direction, but
I think they missed an opportunity.
It's just an example of how it's just not. They could have done something so perfect there, and they just didn't.
This leads me on to sort of how the game is going to develop in the future, because this was a really obvious place to put a Deinosuchus.
Mm-hmm.
So if they didn't do it here, like are we going to have like a swamp pack V2 to add a Deinosuchus, or would they add it in another Cretaceous aimed pack, or would it be in a lagoon aimed pack?
I'm of the mindset that we don't necessarily need a croc in a themed pack.
No.
It could just be, for example, like let's look at Sarcosuchus as a different example. I personally think that there's a really high chance that we're going to see packs like Australia pack and Africa pack, because we don't have a lot of dinosaurs from those regions. And in terms of like the scenery items, those are just perfect themes. And then I could very, very well imagine that an Africa pack would just include, or could just include Sarcosuchus. I think that could be the direction they go in.
I mean, I have written down here as well. Like a lot of people were quite critical of the increase in price, and I can understand why. And I think Frontier could completely solve that in terms of marketing if they just released like a short 10-minute video on their YouTube as a sort of behind the scenes, this is everything that goes into creating a new animal for the game. Like, just show people how it works and how it's done and how much is involved. And then I think people might be less annoyed about having to pay £1 extra for one fewer dinosaur.
I love that you bring that up actually, because that's exactly what they showed us when we were invited to come to the Frontier office. So it was just a handful of us. We came to the Frontier office, and they basically had like different department heads gave a presentation. You know, the lead animator talked about all of the steps that go into animating a dinosaur. The sound designer came in and, you know, he broke down the sound design, like all of the different recordings that go into making a dinosaur's vocalization. And it was really interesting, and it really puts into perspective, for one, how much work goes into it, but also how much passion goes into it, because you could really see like on their faces just how into it they are. Obviously, like this is their craft, right? And I don't think Frontier gets enough credit for that. I would love it if they would like publicly do that. Yeah.
Good, because I think it would be a good way of connecting to the community as well, beyond just releasing DLCs.
It's never gonna please everyone. Like, you know, some
no.
people are just not gonna be interested anyway. But I think that for a lot of us, yeah, it will be really interesting to see the process that goes into that. For example, for like, let's say for a dinosaur like Hypsilophodon, like I don't mean to keep dunking on it, but you know, as I've pointed out, it doesn't have quite the wow factor of the others. But even something like Hypsilophodon, a lot of work and love goes into that. And
I'm sure that a lot of work went into bringing it to the game, and I'm sure Frontier are probably not blind to much of the kickback that it's gotten.
I'm actually not even sure that the Hipsy kickback is a thing. I think I thought shit would hit the fan when Hipsy was announced. And that hasn't been my experience, honestly. I think there was a big wave of disappointment of, oh, it's not a croc. But then once that subsided, like most people are perfectly happy with Hipsy.
I remember going onto Reddit the day that it was announced, and literally the first two posts were the same picture, but one post was basically, why the heck is this being added? And why are we paying for this? And then the picture underneath it was like, oh, this is great to have another small. And like the dichotomy of those first two posts that came up was it's just a perfect microcosm of the Jurassic World Evolution community.
And what's funny is if we take it back to what you mentioned earlier, like, is Frontier tapping into what we want? Well, how do you tap into what we collectively, the royal we, the community, how do you tap into what we want when there is that extreme dichotomy of people being like, Hipsy is worthless versus, oh yes, Hipsy, another small herbivore, another novel dinosaur. This is fantastic. Like, how do you please everyone? Honestly, you can't.
Getting better at communicating with the community would probably help with that. Frontier has definitely gotten better with that during Evolution 3's sort of marketing and hype thing. I do think they were better at communicating to us than they ever were with Evolution 1 and 2. So they've definitely made improvements, but I think communicating to the community more would benefit them and us.
I'm not sure. Maybe nothing springs to mind, but like the only thing I can think of now, which I saw that looming over my head when they announced the pack to us as creators. Like, they were going to announce Hipsy last. I think that was a misstep. I don't think, in terms of anything else, I don't think their communication has been an issue, or their marketing of the pack and the DLC in particular. I just think they probably should have done Hipsy on the second day. But other than that,
maybe.
How would you say that then they should have improved the communication, or should for the future?
It's difficult to say, but I do find it very odd that there are some really often requested animals that have been requested since Evolution 1's days that have never come to the game. And I just find that a bit weird. It's like Universal has given them a list of dinosaurs they're not allowed to put into the game, because there were
Who
some
knows? Who
really,
knows?
really highly. I mean, Plateosaurus is one that's close to my heart, but I do see other people mention Plateosaurus.
Yeah, it's very popular.
Argentinosaurus gets mentioned quite a lot. Hapsiogopteryx was getting mentioned from the minute we knew pterosaurs were coming to Evolution 2. People were going Hapsiogopteryx. And it just seems very odd to me that these really highly requested animals seem to be avoided. Like that Evolution 2's Park Managers collection. They marketed it as these are really highly requested species. Now the Megalodon, yes, very highly requested. Everyone wanted the great big shark. But Thanatos Drake, I hadn't even heard of Thanatos Draken until it was announced in that pack. Segisaurus, who was clamoring for Segisaurus? Now,
No, Segisaurus I see. Like from the novel angle, I definitely saw those comments. Like the novel dinosaur collectors. I can see their reasoning there.
I mean, I don't think I ever saw anything about Segi before the Park Managers pack, but that might just be me not looking hard enough. But I certainly think
I see
it's
everything.
True.
I'm in your walls.
I certainly think it's true to say there are some dinosaurs that are requested a lot more than Segisaurus had ever been requested, or for that matter, Hypsilophodon. Like, the novel canon defenders can defend it as much as they like now, but I don't remember ever seeing this much clamoring for it before it was announced. Like they're using the novel canon status to defend its implementation, but before it has been mentioned, no one was clamoring for it. So
people were more asking generally. People were asking for novel dinosaurs, not Hypsi specifically, but obviously that's included in that. And people, like, there's always fan bases for every group of dinosaurs.
Oh,
so,
for sure.
Small herbivores, they're on that list. I think it would be like going back to Thanatos Dracon instead of Hatzegopteryx, for example, Patagotitan instead of Argentinosaurus. That feels very purposeful, and I think it would be very interesting to like tack onto what we said. Like, we would love to see behind the scenes if they would also go into the thought process there. Like, hey, we had a choice here, or maybe not a choice because Universal put their thumb on the scale. I don't know. But
I mean, obviously
Patagotitan versus Argent. What?
Obviously, they wouldn't be able to tell us if Universal.
No. They wouldn't be able to say that. But
I mean, Patagotitan, I think, was because Patagotitan was here in the UK a year before Evolution 3 launched. Because me and Fallout and Dane went to go and see it in the Natural History Museum.
Yeah, like something like that could weigh into it. And that would be interesting. Like if they were like, hey, we picked this dinosaur because our designers got the chance to see it. Something
Which
like
is
that.
a perfectly, I think that's a perfectly reasonable answer for why you would have Patagotitan and not Argentinosaurus.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you don't explain why, then it looks really bizarre that you just avoid what is probably the most famous of all of the sauropods other than perhaps Brachiosaurus. Argentinosaurus is one of those dinosaurs that is very, very well known for obvious reasons. So to not have it is strange.
What is, to take it back to the Wetlands DLC, how would you have constructed the Wetlands DLC?
Ooh.
Or no, maybe I should walk it back. Maybe I should say, what would you have made the first DLC to like set the tone and get people excited for future DLC,
I think the first DLC being something that tackled one of the areas of the game that feels lacking, and that is the implementation of the deep water mechanic and how many dinosaurs use it. I think that's a very valid thing to do the first DLC on. Because one of the criticisms I saw in my comment section when I reviewed Evolution 3, a lot of people were saying, the deep water is good, but not enough uses it, so it kind of feels a bit pointless. So tackling a pack that sort of turns around and says, here's 3 more animals to use the deep water, and here's a modular building set, which is obviously inspired by similar environments in the real world, I think that was a really good, valid DLC thing to go for.
Mm.
I just think the animals that they picked, Irritator, okay, it's a more accurate baryonyx, and we can stop using baryonyx now. Well, I shall certainly stop using baryonyx now until baryonyx gets a mod to make it look proper. The Irritator is the one of the out of the pack that most people are probably buying it for, because it's an accurate Spinosaurid. The Austroraptor, is okay, but I think the fact it's just another feathered dromaeosaur, and the feathering is kind of similar to how the feathers have been on all of the animals so far, so it doesn't even have that really going for it. It's fine. And then the Hipsy, I think they just picked a boring interpretation. I have seen so many more interesting interpretations of Hypsilophodon. I mean, the Isles Hypsilophodon is maybe
Hilarious.
maybe too bizarre, but it is distinctive. And this I think that this comes back to what I said earlier about like adding more and more dinosaurs is not going to be improvement if those dinosaurs aren't diverse and interesting. I mean, I've heard you use this word in your videos, but we need diversity in the roster. And I think people see diversity as just more. No.
Yeah.
Diversity is we need different sizes, we need different designs, we need imaginative designs for those dinosaurs that are maybe more boring than others. And those dinosaurs that have natural, interesting features, like my beloved Amargasaurus, they're the ones that need protecting and should have been. Cutting Amargasaurus from Evolution 2, for me, was a really fundamentally stupid idea.
And
Because
Huayangosaurus, I remember.
Huango, I loved Huango because its skins were some of the best. But I accept one of those three stegosaurs, well, some of those stegosaurs had to go. I think the fact they kept two of them and got rid of one is frankly insulting to the poor old Huango. I personally think pick Chunking or Huango or Gigant Spino, get rid of the others. Just have the one. But when it comes to Amargasaurus, a small sauropod, so diverse for size, a cute sauropod, so popular, and it has a really distinct visual identity with those spines coming out the neck, which is why I've given it the nickname of the punk sauropod. Why would you get rid of such a visually distinct, interesting looking animal, but keep something like Archaeornithomimus, Centausaurus?
So for me, the answer here is obvious, right? And that is Amargasaurus has a different rig.
Yes, but
it became
it's obvious they've copy and pasted quite a lot of the animation rigging over. So I'm not even sure.
Yeah, but that's not as that's easier said than done. Bringing a dinosaur over from one game to the next, especially when you factor in that you then have to make an entirely unique baby for it.
True.
So, you know, as initially when they announced like what the roster size would be, I went into it thinking, okay, they're gonna be selective in what they pick. When it progressively became clearer that they're filling up the roster with, you know, dinosaurs that are quote unquote a little bit easier. Like Archaeornithomimus is just, you know, Struthiomimus, Gallimimus, all of the groundwork there was already being done in Jurassic World Evolution 3 for the babies and stuff like that. So, you know, as much as we can say that we don't like that, I do see why they went that route.
Yeah, and that's a valid reason.
And Amarga's coming back for free.
Thank God. Like, I am so looking forward. Like, if anyone wants to see how I will be positive about evolution, wait until I probably end up squeeing at how cute baby punk sauropods will look like. That may be the, you know, Evo has her duck babies. It will be Amargasaurus babies for me will probably be the ones that I will defend with my life, because I love the Amargasaurus. This thing, I think that touches on the wider topic of how gaming now is very much a release it now, fix it later process. And sort of for how long should a game be supported? Because that's one thing I was actually going to ask you, because I saw a lot of people in yesterday's stream you did talking about how they're wishing or hoping that Evolution 3 is going to be supported for like the length of time Planet Zoo has, sort of 4, 5, 6 years.
Mhm.
And for me, there does come a point where a game has too much DLC. Like Planet Zoo, I think, is at that stage where I personally feel there is too much DLC for it. I mean, I was thinking that before they announced Planet Zoo 2, but I do think there's a point where the cost racks up a little bit.
It does. But that is a choice that you make
Oh
as
yeah,
a
it's a very
player. And I
personal
think
choice.
if we look at Planet Zoo, that's been going on for 7 years at this point.
It's been
The
7
people who are
years. Wow.
still playing that are the people who are super invested, and then they will happily spend money on DLC. Like if you've left something for that long, yeah, you're gonna buy those DLC. I do agree that there is something there's too many DLC, there's DLC too often. There is such a thing as letting the game more and more content longer. But I honestly feel like something like Planet Zoo is probably the sweet spot, like 6-7 years.
I mean, it will be interesting to see if Evolution 3 actually does get supported for that long. I mean, I certainly think it has the sort of foundation to be supported that long, but it will still be interesting if that's the choice they go, or if they go with this sort of 2 to 3 year cycle that they've been using for the other games.
If they cut it off after 2 or 3 years after, as they've done before, like obviously we can't talk about what goes on in boardrooms because we don't know, but I feel very confident that would be Universal's call, because I think Planet Zoo shows that Frontier wants to support stuff for a very long time if the base is there, and the base is there with Jurassic World Evolution 3. But yeah, okay, so the base, they can improve on that, and they did with I think they did with the recent free update. What did you think of that?
What actually, I'm actually having to think about what was in the free. So the swamp brush, it's fine, but again, I would have just added the fog effect to all of the swamp brushes that were already in the game, so that you didn't, because obviously I don't think people were excited about the swamp brush because of the trees. I think they were excited because of the fog effect, because that added some environmental atmosphere to the enclosure. Yesterday, you were loving how it looked because of all the fog and the mist effects. So I feel that if they had just added that mist effect to all of the swamp brushes, we probably kind of wouldn't have needed the additional swamp brush, because again, it's not the trees we were happy for, it's the fog. But I like having the new swamp brush. It's a new swamp brush. It's free. It looks fine. I don't think it particularly looks like a cypress swamp. If you look at a real cypress swamp, it's a lot more
skinny, condensed.
Yeah, it's a lot closer
to an actual layer of water.
Yeah, it's actually a lot closer together. There's a lot of algal growths and stuff like that. It's not as clean, is probably the word I would use, but it looks fine. The management view to see where your dinosaurs are escaping, which I was having tremendous trouble with on Friday doing the Indonesia challenge mode, and seeing that these rocks I was placing down were not actually entirely rocky enough to keep the dinosaurs in the enclosure. That it's not passability, it's navigation map, essentially. Essentially what we're seeing there is where the AI is saying the animal can navigate. In the nav mesh. That should have been there from the beginning. Like when you've got a modular building game, that is really important, because people are going to build stuff like fences and things from the modular building pieces. So that's one of those management views we absolutely had to have. I'm glad we do now actually have it, because it's really, really useful to see where all these perfectly positioned rocks are not actually stopping animals escaping. So I'm glad we do actually have it now. The Dino Carus is obviously the big draw.
You know what? I'm gonna say something probably out of left field. For me, it's as much as I love the duck. For me, the big thing about the update is the expansion of the island generator. Actually,
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one. I haven't, obviously, because I haven't really started a sandbox build yet, I haven't really focused much on the island generator. I am glad that we do have some additional features going into it now, because now it's not just a modern reinterpretation of a system from 20 years ago. Now we're actually evolving, pun intended,
but
beyond that system, and we're improving it. We're adding the option to choose your biome. We're allowing you to build on the beaches. So I think that's all good. I think I would like to see some extra features come to the maps, because it would be nice to have the generator be able to place proper rivers, waterfalls, pre-placed for you. Because a big thing for me and building on a map is, what are the natural features that are already there which I can use? I don't necessarily go into a map thinking, right, I'm going to put this feature here and this feature here. Like, I actually quite like using the stuff that's already there. So I hope we get some more improvements, but it is improving, and I think that is a really good thing. But the duck's an interesting one, because some people have used the duck's inclusion as a sort of excuse for saying, oh, well, we're going to get all the DLC animals from Jurassic World Evolution 2 for free, clearly. Like,
yeah, I've seen that as well.
I've seen some wild speculation, and I actually fully agree with your theory that the duck was not always going to be free. I completely 100% agree with your theory.
Well, that's interesting because I don't even 100% agree with my theory. I said that in my video. Like, I think there's a good chance that it was supposed to be in the DLC, but I also think there's a really good chance that, when Frontier announced that, all of the base game dinosaurs are coming back, very purposefully omitting the DLC animals. I think there is a very good chance that they were always planning on giving us some of the DLC animals for free. They just, for starters, didn't want to set any expectations on how many that would be.
Yeah.
And second, they wanted that to be a surprise, because this was a surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one. So I think there is a very high chance that that was just the case.
I mean, those DLC animals, those are a stock of gifts that you can feed into a community. It's always useful to have gifts like the John Hammond statue and the zip line and those Jurassic Park themed pieces we got for Evolution 2. It's always useful to have some things to give out for free just to keep the player base on side. And with those cut DLC creatures, they now have, I think it's 13, 14, something along those lines, DLC animals that they can give us for free. They don't even have to make anything. Like, they don't have to come up with what the gift is going to be, because they have a stock of gifts right there. It's like Santa. When you go to see Santa at the supermarket when you were a kid, he's just got a big sack of pre-selected stuff there that he can just give out.
Well, obviously, work still goes into like the baby aspect.
Obviously,
of it.
the work.
I feel like that. This isn't directed towards you, but I do see this a lot. Like, it would have been. I see this a lot. It would have been so easy. Just give us all of the dinosaurs. Why not? And I think people really underestimate how much time and effort goes into like the baby models and specifically the baby animations.
For sure. I mean, I've seen. You could say the same thing about all the people that claims, this could have all just been a DLC for Jurassic World Evolution 2. If you think that, then you should go away and actually research how game development works, because I can tell you now, there is no way that something like modular building could have just been ported into Evolution 2. There's just no way.
No, I drew the comparison in stream yesterday, I think, with The Isle. Like, The Isle is giving us basically an entire new game for free, and people see that as an update, but it is an entirely new game.
Yeah, it's being built from
Yeah,
the
from
code is being
scratch.
built from scratch.
Yeah. And that's the only way Jurassic World Evolution 3 could have been a quote-unquote free update, is build it entirely from scratch and give it for free. And that's just not realistic.
Well, no. I mean, especially not given that Frontier was having financial troubles anyway.
And Universal wants their cut, so...
Yeah, and we can assume that's probably quite a hefty cut, knowing how corporations can be.
Especially Universal.
Well, yeah, Universal doesn't allow anything past their sneaky eyes, do they?
No.
Like, it still made me laugh that they copyright claimed one of my videos for using the Dominion DLC trailer that Frontier made. I was like, what?
The sneaky buggers.
I was like, that is a next level of cheekiness.
Coming back to like the free updates, the free dinosaurs. We talked about this. We talk about people listening. Me and Fletcher talk about a lot of stuff.
We do. We do.
We also talked about, and this remains to be seen how this like pans out. But you know, there is like a subset of people who play the game just for the dinosaurs.
Yes.
Who have been disappointed by the fact that it's only 3 dinosaurs in a pack. I do think that, you know, the free base game dinosaurs from Jurassic World Evolution 2 and potentially free Jurassic World Evolution 2 DLC dinosaurs coming back is a really good way to sweeten the pot for those types of players, to keep them connected to the game.
Definitely.
Sort of keep them engaged and fulfilled. But what else do we think they could/should do with free updates moving forwards? Like, what are some gaps or some pain points that you're seeing that you're hoping to be fixed or filled?
Strangely enough, one of these is in regards to the modular building, which I spent some time earlier on slagging off. So I'll actually now defend it. There is one problem I have with the modular building elements that they included in the Wetland DLC, and that is the ropes.
Okay.
Rope is such a basic material and so useful to have for building. Like, if you want to do a rope fence, you need your ropes. If you want to make something out of wood, rope tends to go with that. You need ropes if you want to make cranes. You need ropes if you want to build like fake enrichment items like I've done. It's one of those like really, really basic materials.
Yeah,
and
I agree. Yeah,
it's been locked into a paid DLC. And there are so many workshop builders who are going to build stuff with the ropes. And no one is going to be able to use them if they haven't brought the DLC. So I think one thing they could do with free updates is put into the modular building system some really, really basic elements that everyone can get for free that are going to be really, really useful for everybody to have. Curved glass pieces, for example. All the glass is straight. Could we have some curved ones? I would make sure there is some chains and some ropes that are freely available for everybody because they're very basic elements that everyone would like to have. Just add some free module. It doesn't even have to be that many. Just some would be better than nothing. Because I think it's a bit unfair to say, oh, if you want this rope fence, you're going to have to go and buy a £7.99 DLC for it.
But wouldn't it also, on the flip side, be unfair to later add it for free to other people? Wouldn't that, like, after the fact, devalue the pack a tiny bit? Because obviously the rope is just a tiny bit.
I mean, I think after a certain point in time, I think it would be fine to give some for free. Like, I think a year down the line, it would be nice if they just said, right, we're going to add some, not all, but some of the bits for free for everyone to use because, we've made our money off this DLC. So let's move on.
I immediately see a problem there because once people catch on to that, people are going to be like, I'm not going to buy this DLC until a couple of months or even a year down the line and see what they add for free from this DLC and then decide if I still want to get the paid portion of it.
It's obviously a very consumer first perspective. I mean, I'm also of the perspective that DLC should get cheaper a year or so down the line. I think it's completely unreasonable for DLC to stay the same price from its launch to 5 years later when the game is dead and out of development, but you're still charging the same price for DLC. I think it's completely anti-consumer. But I
That's a good
can
point.
also understand it's a very consumer first position that is difficult for a corporation, especially one working with another big corporation, to take. I think the other thing that free updates should do, and this is actually one thing I think they should do sooner rather than later, is give us back the lagoon decoration pieces that are missing from inside the lagoon. I don't understand why they've been cut out.
Yeah, like the clumps of coral
Yeah, the
reef.
clumps of coral reef, the clumps of rock, the sunken boats, the like, why are they missing? And I've been trying to figure out actually why, because the damage that Evolution 3 has done to the lagoons, I'm trying to figure out, or I've been trying to figure out sort of why has that ended up happening? Sort of like, was it just a time factor? Lacking the development time, the people to do it? Was it something else? Is there something inherently problematic in trying to get those items to work in Evolution 3? And I don't think it is. It's just weird that they're missing. I thought it was weird because it was the first thing when I went to play the game in London. The first thing I did, let's build a lagoon, put a lagoon animal in it. I want to see what the lagoon decorations are like, what the lagoon animals are like, because the lagoons are kind of my baby. Like, I was making Evolution 2 videos on lagoons like pretty much straight away. And I just think it's really bizarre that they're missing. So it would be really important to have them back, I think. Because yes, you could say, well, people can just go onto the workshop and download stuff. Well, that's fine if you have a permanently stable internet connection. Or that's fine if you want to spend hours trailing through the workshop to look for stuff. But surely people should also be able to just plonk down pre-built decorations that we knew were there. It's not like there wasn't any. They were there. You went to the fuss of making them for Evolution 2. Why have you cut them out? There seems to be no reason for it.
I personally see it as a small oversight, and I do want to emphasize small oversight.
Oh yeah, it's a very
I
small
don't think
area,
it's
but
I don't think it's a big issue. Like the phrasing you used just a bit ago, the damage that has been done to the lagoons. I don't see any damage being done. I just also don't see any improvements with the lagoon that we were hoping for, aside from what the modular building brings into it, which I don't want to underestimate, because the modular building, like as a byproduct, I think does a huge service for the lagoons. But
it
it would have been
does.
nice for if we get more freedom with the shape of the lagoon. The watercolor would have been nice, natural lagoons, stuff like that. But I personally see that as an area for future improvements, and I certainly hope
I
so.
think free updates are a perfect way of doing that.
Yeah.
Thinking about the people that just want dinosaurs. Obviously, giving animals for free is obviously going to appeal to them, but I do think more behavior. Like, this is something I've been consistently critical of Evolution about from Evolution 1, 2, and now 3. The animals still feel like they don't have enough behaviors. We have all this wonderful muddy wetland now, and not a single dinosaur has a rolling around in the mud animation.
I mean, yeah, that's another area that is prime for a free update. I don't know to what extent they'll follow through, but I keep using this word and I keep struggling with the pronunciation, but there is a precedent for
Yeah,
like
precedent.
yeah, for adding a new animation type, because we've seen that in Jurassic World Evolution 2, they gave the pterosaurs the ability to attack the helicopters
Yep, and I mean, in Evolution 1, they gave the ability for our dinosaurs to lay down and
to sleep.
sleep.
Yeah. So yeah, that is something that they can do, and I hope they will. I think going back to like, why didn't they? Why didn't they do more animations? Why didn't they improve the lagoons right away? Why didn't they? Why didn't they? I'm reading between the lines here because unlike what most people think, I don't work for Frontier. I don't have them on speed dial. I've been making this joke a lot lately. They don't even respond to my emails. But when, I don't know if it was before the launch or right after the launch, they released an article where they were talking about, in the development process, they know that they're dealing with limited time, limited resources. That's just the way any production line basically works. And they went into it with like a priority list, right? What is quintessential Jurassic World? What is the most important? And we work on that first. And if something, if a development aspect is quicker than expected, then we can pull something that we had put on hold. We can put that on our to-do list. If something is slower than expected, we have to cut something off the bottom of our priority list. And I think that's what we're seeing in effect. Like they prioritized the modular building, which must have been a huge chunk of work.
Oh, probably.
They prioritized the babies, which from an animator standpoint, huge chunk of work, which I think I can't praise them enough.
Standpoint as well.
Modeling standpoint as well. And they've done a really good job with that. And I think, stuff like lagoons and more, like I can only imagine how much the animation department has been working on bringing the babies into the game with their set of animations, and to then also be tasked with more animations for everything that probably was just impossible to do within the time frame. And what I'm also thinking, and again, reading between the lines here, like as much as we as players love the lagoons, and they were a huge the new shiny thing in Jurassic World Evolution 2, the lagoons in the Jurassic World movie franchise, it's just the one Mosasaurus that occupied the lagoon, and it was a really cool part of the movie, but it was not a huge part of that. I'm struggling with the words there. So I can see why lagoons might have been at the bottom of that priority list and were unfortunately, one of the things that got pushed aside. And I can only hope that it was pushed aside with the intent of, bringing it back up to the front.
Down the line, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I suppose this feeds into, I'm not a video game developer. I watch videos and I read stuff about video game development. I'm not an expert. And maybe I have a very naive outlook on how I think video game development should go. And I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than everyone likes to think. I'm sure it's quite a difficult career path to go into. And I'm sure the pressures from both management and Universal would probably be extreme in this sort of situation. So I certainly think that if you want to say that that's a defense for defense is probably not the right word, but it's the one I'm going to use. But I do also think that sometimes perhaps the community, the evolution community especially, could have higher standards, if you know what I mean. I feel like we all celebrated getting kelp, but no one asked, why has it taken this long to get the kelp? A very simple.
I've seen that a lot.
Very, very, very simple thing took basically the entire game's development to give us. It was incredibly simple, but it was so important for the environmental design of lagoons and stuff. So I feel like the community could have some slightly higher standards and be like, and well, actually, we do kind of want you, Frontier, to do something that maybe you as Frontier don't think is top of the list or important, but actually we as a community, we would really like this to be done, if possible. Because I think a lot of people are willing to give Frontier time, benefit of the doubt, even money in the form of DLCs, if they do something that we've been asking for ages, like the kelp. We were happy to have the kelp. It took longer than it should have, but we were happy to have it. It just shouldn't have taken that long. And I think if we were as a community a bit more willing to, rather than attacking one another, which goes on all of the time in the community for having the wrong opinions or for being too shill or being not shill enough. I mean, you've encountered that, haven't you? Like you've had people accuse you of being a shill, and then this week you were accused of not being a shill. Yeah.
What was it? I was toxic, careless, dangerous because I was
leave the devs alone.
Yeah, and because you get special treatment from Frontier, you should just be nice to them. That just blew me away that people say that.
That's the first time I have ever seen something like that written. That sort of pro corporation.
Yeah, like you should, you got all this special treatment. You should be like, you should lie to us and just be nice. I don't agree with that. I feel like I am. I feel like I am very positive.
I am already nice.
But we can say this facetiously, but I am very positive about the game, and I am.
I think that's good.
Nice about Frontier. I even when we were supposed to have this talk initially months ago, I even said to you, like, when we go into this, I would prefer if we don't use words like lazy to describe Frontier, because I'm against that. They're not lazy. They're passionate. They're hardworking. But there's this corporate structure that goes into something like this, right? So I feel like I'm pretty positive, but I also feel like I am and should point out stuff that I don't like. But at the same time, what you mentioned about standards, like, I don't know. I don't know if I see it as a standards thing. I think people do have standards. People just have
different standards.
People want vastly different things out of the game. And for me personally, like I said, I accept a lot of things that I don't like or don't care as much about if you just give me something that I really, really, really love. But predominantly, I think a community as a whole is just impossible to please. And I think, oh god, and here I come again with like the YouTuber brain rot.
Evolution community is very hard to please.
No, but like, we as YouTubers can see that for ourselves, right? Like, we make a video and we literally see people walk away from one video with two different perspectives. Like, I make a video about an upcoming DLC, and I have one person calling me a shill and a suck up, and another person saying
you're not sucking up enough.
And that's Frontier is dealing with that as well. They put out a DLC and they have one group of people saying Hipsy sucks, and you have one group of people saying Hipsy is the best thing that has ever happened to me. So I don't think it's a standard thing. I think it's a personal preference thing, and it's just impossible to juggle. And I've gone on a tangent. I forgot where this was supposed to be going. But,
we were talking about the free update. I mean, I think obviously the one thing we haven't spoken about yet is how Rebirth is going to be handled, which was the last question, I think, on your list anyway.
Yeah, and you had that on your own list. So just for people listening, this conversation has been very off the cuff, but we did have some points we wanted to hit. So, launch of the game and our response to that, the current DLC, the free update, and the Rebirth content and how that goes into it.
It should probably be an expansion-sized DLC. I think if it was just like the Camp Cretaceous thing that we got for Evolution 2, I think that would be a mistake.
Certainly a missed opportunity.
I was thinking about this. I mean, not that I particularly like Rebirth.
Oh, you don't say. Save it for another time.
Beyond the animals and beyond making a map to be the island that they went to, is there a modular building set that you could get out of that? I'm not really sure. I mean, I think I mentioned in my stream the other day, the only one I think you could possibly do is maybe some sort of Aztec temple style modular building pieces based on that Quetzalcoatlus nest, which would be quite interesting to have, actually. I would love some some of those sort of carved
Yeah, the
walls
Mesoamerican architecture. Yeah.
and columns and such. But beyond that, I'm not really sure. And I mean, and also as a campaign, like, what are they gonna do? Like, the dinosaurs in Evolution 3's campaign seem pretty fine. They're not all dying, and this comes back to the problems of Rebirth as a film, and the terrible plot that they went to, that the dinosaurs are dying, and then I look at my Edmontosaurus. Are they? Because they seem to be breeding like rabbits over here. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do in terms of a campaign towards it.
I mean, I still haven't finished the Jurassic World Evolution 3 campaign, but they're sprinkling in hints. Yeah, I don't
they're
recall.
definitely
I don't recall
hints.
exactly, but there's
Boldera
like a line in there of like dinosaurs are moving towards
migrating,
warmer
yeah.
areas, so they are hinting at it. And I think that if I think that Rebirth is prime candidate for expansion the way we're familiar with from Jurassic World Evolution 2. So that means campaign. I'm not quite sure about a new mechanic because I don't know what that would be, but that's a possibility. Dinosaurs, skins, map, and as a new addition for Jurassic World Evolution 3, you know, they could sprinkle in a little bit of that Mesoamerican architecture and pieces, but maybe more importantly, blueprints based on the movie, you know, that they provide us with. So I definitely see expansion content there. And in terms of the campaign, you know, they can be a little tongue-in-cheek with the canon there, because the games have never been canon. So, you know, they can explain why our dinosaurs in our parks are fine and still do a little campaign mission where we have to go get the DNA from the three biggest dinosaurs that happen to all be on this island. Like, I don't see anything prohibitive there to stop them from going that route.
It will be one of the most useless DLCs for me, because D-Rex and Mutadon will never, ever be in one of my parks, ever. I will never have them. So, those particular two will be pointless content for me, but that's not necessarily a bad thing if we get the Rebirth Spino. Although...
And the Mosasaurus, that's what
I really hope the Rebirth Spino is going to be a model variant, but I suspect it will just be a skin to start with.
Okay, people listening, okay. Fletcher brought this up to me. I didn't even consider this. So I was thinking about the Rebirth DLC in terms of, we're going to get the Spinosaurus model and we're going to get the Mosasaurus model, and I'm going to go all googly-eyed at all the different skins that we, and you just went right in there, and you just, you know, I was at the top of a staircase and you sort of hooked your foot behind my ankle and down I tumbled. Because, you brought up a very valid fact, or possibility, not a fact, a possibility. They might just give us, you know, 4 Spinosaurus skins, which are all like that muddy, yellowy tone with just different stripy bits going on.
And then
they might just give us the one Mosasaurus.
And then we'll get a model variant perhaps down the line, which is what they did with the Dominion animals, wasn't it? So
they did, with like Camp Cretaceous stuff, like the Uranosaurus. Eventually they made them skins. So so now you flipped it around. Now you've sort of helped me back up from the bottom of the stairs. They could do that.
Which would be fine, but I think
hopefully they do it right away. Hopefully they just make them models with skins right away.
But I suspect, thinking about the babies as well, I think it would be a lot of work to make a baby Spino that has the correct body plan of the Rebirth Spino. So I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think they care about that. Like, the Spinosaurus would be the most extreme example of it, but we already have some. Like, the Giga, the baby for the Giga makes absolutely no sense for the Frontier model. Like, it does not look like the same species anymore. So I don't think that's a hang up. Same way, the Deinonychus that they updated, you know, the baby just looks like the new fluffy baby, which makes absolutely no sense for the old Deinonychus. So that's something that we as players are like, oh no, they would have to change that, wouldn't they? But not really.
I think for me as a consumer, like the Giga and the Deinonychus baby not being different based on the model that you pick, I can accept that because there was 80 odd dinosaurs in the game already, and there's a lot of work already done on them and everything. But if it was an animal being sold in a specific DLC for $12.99, $10.99, whatever price they're going to put on it, I think I would.
It'll be more expensive than that.
I think I would expect them to make sure that the baby did look like the adult model in that specific case, because I'm giving you extra money at this point.
That's a good
for
point.
this
Yeah.
specifically. So
Yeah.
I think it's reasonable to expect that. I don't think it wouldn't bug me if it didn't. It would just be like, it's reasonable to expect it, but if it doesn't, I'm fine with it because I accept baby, difficult, multiple models, all the rest of it. The Moser, same thing, isn't it? I mean, I rarely use the Moser anyway because I'm not a big fan of Moser. So.
No, I don't use the Moser a lot either, but that's because I'm a superficial person and it just has hideous skins.
It just has really terrible skins. It looks so ugly, and making it Lux hasn't helped.
If they give us the Rebirth Moser and they use that opportunity to give that Chronosaurus type of colorway skins, I'd be all over that.
I tell you one thing I would want if they're going to do it though. Please give us the breaching animation again.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're going to add something from the film, it's got to be able to do what it does in the film. So have the breaching animation, please. Like, I don't care if you don't add the breaching animation to anything else, but if you are going to put the Moser in there and make it a model variant, make it social animation, that breaching animation.
That would be a nice excuse. But as soon as you said, "Oh, the animal should be able to do what it does in the movie," I immediately went back to Jurassic World Evolution 2, the Pyroraptor.
Pyroraptors.
And people were there was like a split there. There was a group of people who were like, they're never gonna add the Pyroraptor because if they do, it needs to swim. It needs to bring this new mechanic because we don't have that yet, so they're not gonna do it. And the other camp was, ooh, we're gonna get Pyroraptor, which means we're gonna get swimming dinosaurs, which means we're gonna get deep water. And I was like, bro, no, it's gonna be in between. They're just gonna give us the Pyroraptor and period. And that's
but
what
now it can swim.
Now it can swim. But in Jurassic World Evolution 2, they even went a step further, and it was aquaphobic, the Pyroraptor. So unfortunately, I don't think that seeing an animal perform a certain behavior on screen is any sort of guarantee for seeing it in the game.
No, perhaps not. But I think in that specific case, it was unreasonable to expect them to do a massive change like deep water, because again that would have been hell to patch into Evolution 2, because you would have to fundamentally change how not just the environmental tools worked, but you'd have to change how all of the inherent animals that were already there interacted with that new environmental feature. Whereas here, like, we already have the lagoon animals already have socials, so it's not like you would be doing much to make it have that animation. It's just rig the animation up and have some particle effects when it leaves the water and hits the water. It's nothing as difficult as say, oh, let's have some sort of system where you can fade the land into the lagoon, and then let's have it so lagoon animals can grab dinosaurs off of the land and drag them into the lagoon. Yeah. Really creative, imaginative, wonderful idea if you want to see dinosaur carnage. But from a game development perspective, the amount of change and coding and stuff that in itself would require would be huge. So it's completely unlikely to happen ever.
Here's hoping, though. Here comes the optimism again.
The optimism, which I know I like to take the mickey out of you sometimes because you're like that eternal optimist. But I do think it's you can't just have negative people and you can't just have positive people. You have to have both sides, because it's only in the middle when those two sides talk and debate and share opinions and ideas that interesting stuff happens. If everyone just agrees with everybody else, nothing will ever change.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and we all have different voices, and I cannot stress this enough to people listening. Like me and Fletcher, really, really, especially in Jurassic World Evolution 2, we had vastly different opinions
Very different
on that
opinions.
game. Very different opinions. And if I'm allowed to say, and you can ask me to cut this out later, we even had a bit of a spat about that at the time. Like
We did. I
you were like
know.
you are being so positive, and I was like, but you are being so negative. And I think that's healthy. And
It is.
honestly, Fletcher, we are a role model here
We are.
because
How two people can
we
disagree and still be
yeah,
friendly with each other.
yeah, we genuinely had like a big spat about that. And
I mean,
it's fine.
I would
Like,
say in regards to that though, that was also primarily because of a spat I had with another YouTuber who'll go unnamed over Evolution 1. And it was that was part of the whole thing as well. But yeah, that was a very long time ago now.
yeah, but like, we can all share our opinions, and we can all disagree, and we can all just move on.
Yeah. Debate and discussion is
Yeah, exactly.
just because people disagree doesn't mean they can't be friends.
And it also doesn't mean that someone is wrong.
No,
If you disagree about something, that doesn't mean one person is wrong and one person is right. It just means you like your things, I like my things, and that's so different for everyone. And it also doesn't mean, you are more intelligent, you are more stupid. It's really just comes down to personality, I think.
it does. But then we have such, we do talk a lot in the Discord chat that you share with us moderators that keep an eye on your streams. We do talk a lot about all sorts of different stuff, not just evolution, and that's all part of knowing people for a prolonged period of time. You get sharing points of view is just one of those natural parts of that, I think.
Sharing a whole lot.
Indeed.
I have really enjoyed this chat with you,
I
though.
have as well, and I like to say I'm more than happy to come back and talk about like the YouTube experience, because I think as my little tiny channel squeaks towards 4,000 subs, while yours like buckets towards 400,000 now, aren't you? Getting
Well, it's not exactly going in buckets. Well, maybe in comparison.
in comparison.
But yeah, but that doesn't even factor into it, right? That's not. And we both went into this this podcasty thing with the same mindset. This is not about the views.
No.
This is just because we do talk a lot, usually in chat, sometimes in voice calls. So yeah, we just wanted to have this conversation here. I wanted to not just have this conversation personally, but also do it as content for the channel, because I do think it's important to show that, for me to showcase, for example, maybe a different perspective on Jurassic World Evolution, because again, my perspective is always going to be predominantly positive. So, give a platform to a different voice, and also, yeah, just to showcase that we can all have discussions about our own wants for the game, and we can engage in that in a productive manner, I think.
For sure.
Or at least entertaining to us. Like this is entertaining to me.
I love to talk and discuss about all sorts of things. So
yeah. So yeah, I would love to. Obviously, I'm gonna try to do more podcasty things. Maybe reach out to other people to talk with. But I'd love to have you back as well.
definitely.
And pick a different topic. Like we can talk about the YouTube side of it. The struggles of
A small
being at
channel.
my size and the struggles of being at your size. And there's like greater dinosaur media that we can get into.
Oh yes.
There's definitely a lot to talk about, and we both love talking. There's that. So
and we both didn't like Dinosaur with Stephen Fry.
we did not like that.
It's one of the few things that we both agree on that we both don't like.
One of the things that unites us. I always laugh. Like, it happens very rarely, but it did happen recently, and I don't even remember what it was about. But Fletcher literally said, "Wow, we agree on something." Just for people to get a sense on how often we disagree, and we're still As we said, are we still friends? I touched on
Of
this
course,
earlier.
we are
were
still
friends.
friends.
We were friends at the start. Are we still friends?
We are still totally friends. You know, I'm not
Okay, good.
gonna call the English Navy up to go and invade the Netherlands again, as what happened in history. No, we are still friends.
Then we've reached the 2-hour mark. So, do
Yeah.
you have parting words for me or for people listening?
To quote you, enjoy the game.
There you go. All right, let's wrap it up with this. Yeah, thank you so much to everyone listening, and thank you so much to Fletcher for having this talk with me.
And thank you for having it with me.